Been very rewarded from the feedback that we've received. The report that you have in front of you, I apologise for its length and detail. However, we did want to ensure that we could copy you in on some of the material or samples of material that have emanated from the event. The report, however, still lacks some information. First of all, the Cricket World Cup organisation has yet to complete and release its economic impact report, and we'll be wanting to draw some information on that and report back to you accordingly. Secondly, Hamilton City Council, we are doing our own major event evaluation analysis at the moment, which will incorporate Cricket World Cup, but the results from that work once again will be another 6 to 8 weeks away, and we'll report back when we have that in on anything to do with the Cricket World Cup for your information. The third item of information that we have yet to receive in time for the deadline on this report was the International Media Monitor, which is conducted or collated by Tourism New Zealand, where we will get a good indication of the extent of some of the international media exposure that Hamilton's received during the Cricket World Cup, although there are some examples in the report ahead of you. I think it's worth noting that the Cricket World Cup season for Hamilton was a very, very busy one. It's worth reminding you that whilst the Cricket World Cup was taking place, Hamilton also had its usual array of events that were taking place elsewhere across the city with significant numbers. So, for example, while we had a cricket game on at Seddon Park with around 8,500 people, at the same time we had a major show at Claudelands with 4,500 people. We also had the Garden Arts Festival activity happening concurrently. So it was a very, very busy city at the time. I think it's also worth noting that the event was run by, I believe, an outstanding team who were led by Chad Hooker, who you all know. We prevailed upon the services and resources of the staff at the H3 operation, so rather than just focus on venue delivery, which is their normal stock and trade, they also took on host city responsibility for us. The other acknowledgement I should mention is for all the various, and I won't name the working groups across the city that participated, the volunteers, the 220 odd volunteers who did an outstanding job for us, but also the likes of Hamilton Central Business Association, police, fire, ambulance services and so forth. I would like to make one particular acknowledgement, because the work that was completed as a part of the team by Hamilton Waikato Tourism, I've got to say, was absolutely outstanding. They put in a massive amount of their time and effort and dedicated resource, which is a bit scarce for them, into the event and managing the host city media activity on site at Seddon Park, and the hours and time and dedication, and also the really good ideas and good input that they provided to the whole project were absolutely invaluable. Before I introduce you to Chad, who can take any questions you may have, we do have a video clip that is mentioned as an attachment in your papers. We actually have 2 video clips, but I think, Your Worship, in the interest of time, perhaps if we just show one at this stage and make the other available as you wish.
Did the pictures move? Those are called stills.
With its grassy slopes and picnic-like setting, Seddon Park is a picturesque cricket ground. The stadium hosted 3 matches in the ICC Cricket World Cup. The venue's opening fixture was between South Africa and Zimbabwe, followed by India against Ireland, and finally host New Zealand play Bangladesh.
It's very exciting for Hamilton because we're a relatively small city in New Zealand, but we do have a world-class facility here, and we're really excited about having some world-class cricket players coming here to play at Seddon Park.
The stadium has undergone major off-field upgrades to meet with growing international demands.
So we've extended onto the front of the pavilion, so we've added a new viewing area for each of the teams and a new dining area for larger dressing rooms. We've put some broadcast towers into the ground, and it's fantastic, and that'll be a great legacy for the ground moving forward.
Welcome to the Shire and the first edition of the Hobbiton Film Set Cricket Cup. 4 teams, 2 matches, 10 overs each of backyard cricket, Hobbit style.
We have a rather unusual cricket match here at Hobbiton.
Notice there's no shoes, there's bare feet, some really unique rules and some wonderful passion. It's an unbelievable setting, and the way people have taken to this and enjoying themselves is testament to the surrounds, really. It's very easy to be proud of an environment like this in your backyard.
Serenading Indian business people and media at Hobbiton is part of opening doors to increase trade and tourism. Add cricket to the mix, and former Black Caps captain Stephen Fleming says you have the perfect recipe for creating enterprise. 3 business delegations are here, and the 2 countries are working on a free trade agreement to increase the $2 billion trade already done annually. Driving trade at the Shire can lead to far bigger things with one of the world's fastest growing economies.
It's all about the sport at the end of the day, but these are the things that make it really a fun event and a memorable event for a lot of people that come. And so we try to do something that, you know, gives them a really great memorable experience and represents what we are here and what Hamilton's all about.
The South African cricket team opens against Zimbabwe, and the town of Hamilton has spiced up the encounter with a safari weekend.
that video clip. It's something, just watching that, it sort of makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up a bit, because I'm incredibly proud of what we've achieved, both as a council and the team within council that's been responsible for that, but also as a city. I think when you look at the number of stakeholders that have been involved in the organisation of the tournament, everyone's pulled together and worked collaboratively and collectively to deliver a fantastic event. So I'm proud to report that there were no significant issues in relation to the tournament, and we got extremely positive feedback from the ICC and the local organising committee about what a great job Hamilton did as a city delivering this major world event. So that's probably, I guess, the key point to take home from the event today. In terms of the budget side of things, it's just worth noting that we were under budget with what we'd set out to do. And all the venue operational costs were basically picked up by the Cricket World Cup local organising committee. And on top of that, we were able to deliver some extra value by being able to tap into central government funding to be able to add extra events and activities around our program, particularly with being able to bring the Soweto Gospel Choir out and be able to tie that back into the Hamilton Gardens Arts Festival. So as you can see from the video, lots of highlights though.
Right, okay. Go, Gary.
Thanks, Shirley. Well done, Chad and the team. That was fantastic. Just on page 26, all costs of temporary overlay have been on-charged to ICC World Cup Cricket 2015. Have all of the charges we've forwarded on to third parties, and primarily been accepted, and everything's all done and dusted and crossed off, and nothing
no
hanging
issues with
around?
anything.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Councillor Gallagher.
Yes, look, obviously congratulations to an excellent event. Acknowledge the role of Councillor Pascoe and the volunteers and the team. Two questions related to page 35. Total host city expenditure, 132,000. Can we just be reminded again what was the any spending specifically on the grounds that was required to host the World Cup? And I'm just wanting to do the contents of the lighting and the stands and anything else. So in terms of outlay, then that leads into return and benefit, which.
Yeah, if I may, Councillor Gallagher, the 132,000 you refer to was for host city activities, so city activation and so forth. In terms of the work that we had done over the last 12 months at Seddon Park itself, as we've reported previously, that was work that was to be undertaken in any case and programmed into our budgets before we were aware of Cricket World Cup taking place as a part of our accountability to maintain Seddon Park as an international standard grounds. There's no doubt that some of the activity that occurred, such as the introduction of the broadcast towers, which were largely funded by other parties, that timing of that was advanced to take advantage of the Cricket World Cup, but it did not occur because of Cricket World Cup.
So how much did we spend in total? I mean, I think it's significant, and you're right. It's for this and other events, but if we're talking in terms of events and the council investment in events on behalf of ratepayers, etc., what was that quantum?
So if you recall on the slide. If you recall on the slides that we had, we mentioned there's $1.4 million spent at Seddon Park, and of that, 400,000 came out of council's existing budgets. So $1 million was raised from other funding sources.
So $1 million from other funding sources.
Correct.
And we kicked in 400.
Correct.
And that includes the upgrades, the towers, the changing rooms, all of that.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. The second question is, when would we expect the University of Waikato? So can you just help us a wee bit, in terms of, so that we've obviously got some analysis, and that no doubt will inform for FIFA and other events, the calculation. Yeah. I mean, obviously huge social benefits, community benefits, don't dispute that, but the calculation of economic benefit.
The report that we're getting through Waikato University is probably still around 8 weeks away. The report is actually covering a multitude of events that have been taking place over the year, including events yet to take place, such as FIFA itself. Right. So it is some time away, but it is important to also remember that that report will tell one story. in terms of what we've been able to pick up for Hamilton, but we'll also be drawing on data that will come back from Cricket World Cup organisers in terms of their economic impact studies that they're preparing as well. So I suspect it'll be around 8 weeks away, but it depends how quickly the report is finalised after FIFA's completed.
Finance or S&P?
Yes, we'll report that back to elected members,
Sure.
yes.
And just the other final question around the complementarity, like, you know, with the groups that came from Africa and performed at the Gardens Festival. That would be, when we come back, that's really interesting, you know, the notion that while you have one event, all right, to what degree there are some attached events that you can leverage around.
Yeah, and if I may, that was a challenge, but it was a result of one of the team's very good ideas that popped forward. We had an opportunity, or Chad and his team recognised an opportunity for some additional funding, looked at a way to best utilise that funding, and because of the African game that was taking place at the same time and the activity of the Hamilton Garden Arts Festival, it became a bit of a no-brainer as soon as someone opened their mouth with the idea.
And sorry, the video, where did that go to, the video that we've just seen?
At this stage, it's just come to here, but we are looking to be able to use that to potentially present to staff and to be able to put it on council websites as well.
And as a promotion of what,
Yeah.
example
Yeah.
of
What we're capable of.
very good fronting by my colleague Rob Pascoe.
Councillor
Thank you,
Forsyth?
Councillor.
Andrew Bishop, Mayor too. Look, just a follow-up question. Sean, when you talk about the fact that the stand and the changing rooms upgrade was going to happen anyway, as just part of natural repairs and maintenance, that's not what my recollection is, and correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that the World Cup did have a bearing on the urgency of doing up those changing rooms, and that was always part of the decision making.
It became an issue. The Chad can probably speak more accurately than I can, but the upgrade of those change rooms had been in program for some years, and we were effectively under notice from Cricket New Zealand that unless that upgrade occurred within a certain time frame, we would be at risk of losing international games. Now, that was before the Cricket World Cup event was even announced or known to any of us. So yes, we pulled out all the stops to have it happen, have it completed before Cricket World Cup, but in actual fact, without Cricket World Cup, we still would have been pulling out the stops to get whatever other international games would have come our way in any case.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on this report? No?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor. Yep.
Yeah, congratulations, Sean, Chad, and to the other members of your team. A really outstanding outcome. And I just note under 64 that the Zimbabwe cricket team came out to a little community event that I attended called Books for Zimbabwe. So the Zimbabwe community attended that, and just quietly the members of the team. So that was another nice, almost unofficial, below the radar type event. I'd also like to acknowledge colleague Rob Pascoe for his role as ambassador, in addition to his responsibilities here at council, obviously, and also for the work he's doing with the FIFA ambassadorship. The only comment I wanted to make really was how limited was the retailer support in the CBD? Just go a bit further on that for me.
So we were working with the Hamilton Central Business Association. There are some challenges when you're working with these major events in that retailers aren't allowed to officially associate with the tournament. Now, they can dress themselves up, and there are things they can do. So the Hamilton Central Business Association were a key stakeholder of ours in terms of working with the local retailers. They worked quite closely with a number of the hospitality operators, and there were 2 hospitality operators that screened all of the games and sort of became unofficial homes for the tournament. In terms of the local retail, you know, the actual stores and what they could do, we did have a retail sort of window dressing competition that ran, and we partnered up with Wintec around that as well for them to provide students to be able to go down and help the retailers to dress their stores. There were only a handful of retailers that took up that opportunity, although that was partly limited too by the timing of the tournament, that Wintec students weren't really back on deck and ready to go. So we're looking to roll that out again around the FIFA tournament, but with, I think, second year Wintec students, and there'll be more of them and they'll have a bit more of a lead in. So we're hoping that there will be a stronger response from the retail community around the FIFA tournament.
Because that is the disappointing aspect, where in the past, Christmas, you name it, the local retailers have a disappointing response. And perhaps you need to consider, if the CBD retailers don't want the business, that maybe we should be encouraging Chartwell and the base to participate, because this is a chance for the CBD retailers, and you talked about 12,000 people in Hamilton on the one day. I am surprised, even though the time frame was perhaps short, that they didn't leap into the fray and take advantage of that opportunity by at least dressing their windows, wearing stickers. I mean, there are many things they could have done. So if you could please pass on to Sandy my disappointment again in the CBD retailers, not kind of getting behind the city and expecting council to fund all the activity.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, thanks very much for your report. So I'll move the recommendation to the report be received. Seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour?
Can I speak to the motion, please, before we vote? And I'd like to speak as the City Sports Ambassador for this event. In wrapping up the City's involvement in the tournament, it's very clear staff, stakeholders and the wider City and regional community did a terrific job in this event, working collaboratively with stakeholders and looking at the bigger picture. Across the region, Hamilton and the Waikato once again showed what it takes to be part of a major event, and we embrace these opportunities as they come along. The 3 international games had provided an opportunity to focus on Hamilton as a major cricket location and a friendly city to visit. In addition to Sean's thanks to the many staff who are involved, I'd like to just select out, and I know it's challenging to do this, but I'd like to specifically thank Chad, Nicola, Emma, Claude, Claire, KJ and Andy at Seddon Park, the City Com team of Jeff and Vicky, and all the other staff in council operations and throughout the organisation who contributed to the successful staging of these events. Therese Walsh, who's the CEO of Cricket World Cup New Zealand, commented to me on 2 occasions that the atmosphere and friendliness of Hamilton was one she greatly enjoyed, and that the Hobbiton cricket match was the highlight of her commitments to World Cup events. 3 of the teams playing in Hamilton reached the semi-final and won the final. The Indian game against Ireland attracted an estimated 1 billion audience, a television audience of 1 billion people. In addition, the weather remained fantastic on every one of the 3 Hamilton games. The city looked great and Hamiltonians rallied to the occasion. Could I also mention and thank the incredible input from Les Bilcliffe and his large team of volunteers. Many of the volunteers were long-time residents of the city, and others travelled distances as far away as Coromandel and Taupo to assist on their allocated days. They were the coalface of Hamilton, assisting visitors in finding their way around the city, as well as assisting spectators at the events. These volunteers came from all walks of life: university lecturers, dentists, many council staff, retirees and cricket fans. A large number took annual leave from their jobs to volunteer for the event. It's pleasing to hear that a large number of those volunteers have now volunteered for the upcoming FIFA Under-20 World Cup. So FIFA starts with team welcomes and some warm-up matches from May the 10th, and that's less than 2 weeks away. The next event, this FIFA Under-20 World Cup, is the 2nd largest sporting event in the world. and yet another opportunity for the city to show its wares to the sporting world. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Rob. Right, any others? Okay, all those in favour? Against? Carried.
Aye.
Thanks very much, guys. So I think you're still on the hot seat for the FIFA report, which is the next item on page 74.
So I'll speak to that. So it's worth noting that the FIFA model is quite different from the Cricket World Cup model, and so that's taken a little bit of adjustment for our team coming straight out of cricket and moving into FIFA. But it's fair to say that everything's going to plan, we're on track, and we're comfortable with where things are at, both from a budget perspective and our planning. You may have noticed, if you've been walking around town today, that the futsal court is being installed as we speak, down in Garden Place there. And the other thing which is worth just providing an update on is that on point... there's a point around the warm-up matches, so I've just lost the number.
15.
But I'll take your word for that. That we have had a Five Nations series confirmed by New Zealand Football, so that's now been announced, and we will have 5 different countries that will be playing in Hamilton and around Hamilton in the lead up to the actual tournament proper. So those teams include New Zealand, Australia, Qatar, Ghana and Panama. So there'll be 2 lots of double-header games at the stadium on Sunday the 10th of May and Wednesday the 13th of May. And on top of that, there's an extra 5th game that will be played at St Peter's School down in Cambridge, and that will be played between Ghana and New Zealand Invitation 11 on also Sunday the 10th of May. We've had to find additional training facilities because we're not able to use the official FIFA training grounds. So St Peter's School in Cambridge have very graciously offered to help us out there, and we're also working with the Waikato District Council and Centennial Park up in Ngaruawahia to try and get some activity in those areas as well. So that's exciting to have that coming through. None of that was previously anticipated when the bid was done for the tournament, but it's great because it gives us some extra activity. Hopefully it will generate additional ticket sales for the tournament, and obviously there's an extra economic spin-off with the team staying in the city for basically a week. So that's some extra benefit for us. That's all being hosted at no cost to the city, so basically New Zealand Football is funding that with the support of some of the other teams. So that's happening there. I'd also like to mention in relation to point 42, where we've had team management from Qatar, Portugal and Colombia come through. We also had Senegal come through last week on their inspection visit because they qualified later than most of the other teams. And I think there was one key word that came out from them, which was magnifique, in terms of the quality of the facility. So they're looking forward to their stay in Hamilton. So that's exciting to have them come through as well.
That wouldn't have come from the Qatar guys.
No, that came from Senegal. Yeah.
They don't speak like that.
No. So yeah, that's really the update on progress if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this one? No? No? Okay.
Just on point 52, your financial summary, the current forecast, so just to be clear, that's what whilst you've got an original bid I can take as the original budget, yep, and you're thinking that you're going to come in 80,000 shy of that. Currently, that's your best estimate?
Yes, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Why? Any particular reason?
So that's in relation to the funding that came from H15. So at this stage you'll see under point 49 that H15 have raised nearly $360,000. Their target was $400,000.
Okay.
And council's funding is dollar for dollar with that. So therefore if they're $40,000 short, we bring it back accordingly.
Okay.
So we've basically compensated by looking at the stadium costs and the host city costs. So we've forecast those back so that we don't go over budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Very good. It's all on track. Okay, I'll move that the report be received, seconded by Councillor Tooman. All those in favour? Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Sounds like you're very busy. Right, councillors, that's the end of the open session.
Excuse me. Sorry, Your Worship.
I sent an email earlier today as a result of the Waikato Times article yesterday about the tyres. I understand there was some sort of informal discussion over lunch when I wasn't there. We had an informal briefing, let's say, at the end of the Finance Committee, and I would like there to be an update, which is what I was asking for at this meeting. I thought this was the appropriate time at the end of this agenda.
So, yes, we did. We got an update and pretty much nothing's changed. So what I said was we wouldn't take it as an agenda item, but Sean, you're here. Sean will just update you, which is really there is no change. I think it's sort of more clarity of information or accuracy of information. So I wasn't going to take it as an agenda item.
Well, then, in which case, which meeting would you like me to put it on the agenda, Your Worship? Because there are some specific matters I raised in there, which you can. The meeting actually has the choice of not putting it on the agenda, but there's an agreement. I thought that councillors could get things on the agenda. Sure, mine's a late thing, so if necessary, I'll have to put it on, I guess, in 6 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time, which does seem crazy. Because
So,
in the meantime, the tyres are being shipped to somewhere unknown, and with a problem unknown perhaps for the population of that area.
Yeah, no, so I think that that's the thing, the misinformation perhaps needs clarity. So my suggestion, Councillor McPherson, is once you get clarity of information, if you still wish it to be an agenda item, I would go to Finance because we have a contract arrangement. It did come through to the Finance Committee, as you know. So that would be where, because we've got a contract, so it's a contract matter, I guess. So it would come through to Finance.
I guess, Your Worship, I would say that I'm not seeking to raise the contract yet. I may, you're right, depending on the information I have, but in any event, I'm seeking to check that the recipients of the tyres know they're coming and know the problem with the inability of the contractees, if there is such a word, to actually deal with them other than stockpile them at the moment.
Yeah, so that's why that is potentially a contract matter. So it would come through to Finance. So my suggestion is get the clarity of information, because I think there's misinformation. If that doesn't satisfy you, by all means, put it on the agenda item for Finance and talk to Councillor Pascoe. And I mean, I'm sure there wouldn't be any problem with adding it as an agenda item. And in any event, councillors, as you'll recall, at the Finance meeting, did ask the General Manager to keep us informed and to update us on the contract matter. So I would be surprised if it isn't on it may already be as a pending agenda item on that Finance Committee meeting anyway.
Yes, the new items have been raised since the Finance Committee meeting, though, both in the Chief Executive's executive update on Tuesday and also in the newspaper yesterday, which seemed to have arisen out of the executive update, possibly, I don't know, but it expanded on that and quoted the General Manager. But they are new from last Thursday. That's why I'm raising it, Your Worship, because there was new information in there in both items.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying, Councillor McPherson, is misinformation. So why don't you start with getting accurate information first, and if you still have concerns, by all means, raise them in the process. But I think the starting point is to get the accurate information first, and then decide whether you still wish to proceed with an agenda item.
So, Your Worship, are we going to be all sent some information then, or are we going to be raised now? I'm not sure what you meant by that, because there were actual direct quotes from the General Manager in the article.
Yeah, that's right. So go to the General Manager and then reassess your situation. If you still believe it is an agenda item, go through the process.
Well, I'm not going to go to the General Manager, Your Worship. I'm going to ask that the General Manager accord me the same information that seems to have been given informally to others in public, like it was on Thursday. I mean,
I think that's right. I mean, free flow of information, no problems. Whether it's he telling you asking him. I mean,
It
at the
wasn't.
end of the day, it's simply clarity of information. There's no further information, to be frank.
It wasn't public excluded last Thursday.
Yes, thank you.
yeah, I'm talking about the matters that are in public, though.
So, Councillor, that's the position. Okay, so that's the decision I've made.
Well, yeah, no, that is actually the meeting's decision, Your Worship. I believe under the standing orders, the meeting can decide to put a late item on the agenda.
They can, that's correct. Yeah, they can.
Just a clarification.
Yes, Councillor Gillard.
I think it would be helpful, notwithstanding the briefing that we received over lunch,
that there's a clear written briefing, and probably the points that Councillor McPherson raises could also be dealt with. The prime issue of public interest is the issue of ensuring that any ongoing risk of tyres located within our city boundaries are at a minimum. And I think, and it would be good, because I have to say that I've read in part through a newspaper and a newspaper response. I had an update today over lunch, but I think it would be good if for the benefit of Councillor McPherson and anyone else, this is a matter of high public interest. The issue of contracts, that's frankly a minor detail. The key detail is the safety and the learnings. The fact is that there's no risk to the public. And secondly, a clear, concise update as to the journey ahead to remove these tyres.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you
Your Worship, sorry, as a point of process, it was not on the agenda of my understanding of the public excluded part of the Finance Committee. I mean, it was raised.
I'm just trying to remember.
There was a report. There was a written report at last week's Finance Committee in public excluded on an update on the tyres.
I've checked the agenda of that, and it doesn't refer of that.
We'll just get that checked. I can't remember.
Okay, if the chair.
There we go. We've got the correct.
Yeah, I've checked the agenda list, and it wasn't on there.
Yeah, so
okay.
to the council, there was agenda item.
Oh, it was on that extra page. Okay.
Okay, so it was. Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you very much. So there are no other items on my list. So I will now move that the council go into public excluded, and the Deputy Mayor will second that. All those in favour? Any against? Right, carried.